All right, 2 days ago, Parliament passed the Administrative Adjudication of Road Traffic Offences Amendment Bill. I think you and I both know it better as AARTO. The Minister of Transport has welcomed this development, saying this will guarantee South Africa's implementation of the National Road Safety Strategy and the achievement of targets as set out in the United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety Strategy. The AARTO Act was promulgated in 1998. It seeks to promote road traffic quality and support the prosecution of road traffic offences, amongst others. Now, SANTACO is one of the biggest stakeholders in the public transport sector whose work and members will be impacted by this bill. Joining us now in studio is Thabisho Molelekwa. He's the spokesperson for SANTACO. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. It's good to have you on Morning Live.
Thank you very much.
Okay, why is the passing of the AARTO bill important, and how do you believe it's going to help on our roads from SANTACO's perspective?
Well, firstly, what is important to understand is SANTACO supported the AARTO, or the implementation thereof, purely because of it promotes road safety. We accept the reality that South Africa's road safety is a serious challenge to the economy. And this is where we made our presentation to Parliament, that while we welcome that, we also want to understand, we want Parliament to understand that the realities that are faced by the taxi industry is the busiest on the road. And therefore, some laws of AARTO may impact negatively on the taxi industry. One of the things that we raised was, how do we ensure that if the offences have been committed by the driver, by the time they get to the owner, the taxi has not been stopped on the road. And these are some of the challenges that we raised with Parliament at the time we made submission. Okay,
so that is the worry, and perhaps maybe we can explain it a little bit better, is that if and when AARTO comes into effect, because it certainly does now look like it's now all it has to do is go to the National Council of Provinces, and then the President signs it into law. So it looks like it is going to come into effect. One of the issues is the demerit system, and that every single one of us that has a license or a licensed vehicle will have, we start with 0 points, and then there's 12 points. That if you reach 12 points, you will have your license suspended for 3 months. But that's more against the vehicle owner than the driver. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, yes, that is what it will happen. That is what will happen. But then, in our discussions with them, they did indicate the provision to defer that to the actual person who committed the offence at the time of the issuance of that infringement. So
this is fundamentally what you're against. Is there more that you're against?
Well, the other thing is that what we argued was we need to understand, how the offences or some of the offences committed by the taxi drivers would impact on the taxi business as a whole, because we believe that some of them could be, that could be left out of, that could not impact negatively on the demerit system as a whole. Because if they were to impact on the demerit system, in a month's time, this guy would end up not actually being on the road again.
Yeah, which is a good thing. I hate to tell you, it's a good thing. Because with all reality, I know that we're sitting here and talking about the issues of the taxi industry and SANTACO, but it's more about the passengers that get into that vehicle, whose lives are at danger, they're at risk. And perhaps if you work together with the taxi drivers now, even though the onus may fall on the taxi owner, but the taxi driver needs to be held accountable as well. And perhaps driving will get better with taxis on the road, because you and I both know that we can't justify how badly they drive.
We accept the situation in the taxi industry. We also know that there are good drivers out there in the taxi industry. But what we are saying is, firstly, the safety of commuters comes to play, and that is important. But what we also discussed with AARTO was that we don't want AARTO implementation to be in such a way that it discriminates or it seems to be targeting taxi industry as a whole. What we want is to be able to work together with AARTO in a way that could benefit both the industry and the implementation of the law. And this is why one of the things that we discussed was, how do we expedite the process of deferring the offences committed such that the taxi does not get impounded on the road, such that, because once it gets impounded, it means the owner cannot make business. But also what we also encouraged, internally in our structures was to begin to educate the drivers, was to begin to educate owners on each one of them's responsibility in terms of how to understand AARTO.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw a taxi strike happening recently. I think I'm trying to remember exactly what area, but I think it was around Pretoria, where they blockaded roads because they refused to pay traffic fines. They refused to, because their licenses wouldn't be renewed. They refused to pay traffic fines for going through red robots, for driving on the wrong side of the road, for doing things that if I did, my license wouldn't be able to be renewed either. Now, this is pure lawlessness. That's breaking the law. So, the idea, I imagine, is to try and create the law, not just for the taxis, but for everybody. So to personalize it, I imagine, is a case that wouldn't work in your favor. How do you get the taxi drivers and the taxi owners to work together to ensure that, A, passengers are safer in these vehicles and that you abide by these rules of the road? And perhaps this is a way of doing it.
Maybe I must indicate also that our message to the protesters in Pretoria was very clear. We cannot encourage a blanket approach of scrapping of traffic fines because most of them, if not some, are a very clear offense, in terms of the traffic laws, and we cannot seem to be encouraging lawlessness in the country. And secondly, SANTACO internally also has got its own educational programs around, road safety. We do have patrol vehicles at our local structures where, taxis are monitored, overloading, and, compliance with the rules of the road is adhered to. And we do have our own internal measures that we take against offenders. And this is purely in support to the promotion of road safety in the country. So it is not necessarily true that, we want to be a law unto ourselves. We depend on government to implement the law. We do have our own internal structures that assist in implementation of the law. I mean, in the same Pretoria, in Atteridgeville, there are patrol vehicles that ensures that taxi drivers do not obscure flow of traffic on the road. We've got a situation in Rustenburg that we're currently dealing with where a driver was suspended for having slapped a learner simply because she was expressing a discontent around overloading of vehicle. So we do deal with those issues on a day-to-day basis. It's just that they may not be heard out there, but we are in action in terms of that.
They should be heard out there so that the people of South Africa can understand that you don't that you do not put up with this kind of behavior from your drivers. But let's just finalize our AARTO discussion. Where to from here? Are you taking any more action against it, or are you just now going to sort of let the law take its course?
We enjoy a very healthy relationship with ARTIA, which is the agency that enforces AARTO. We are in discussions from time to time. We have discussed, how the implementation is going to affect us and how we are going to ensure that there's mutual benefit between the two institutions. So we are not really objecting. We've made our submission to Parliament. We are saying, let's work together. Let's see how the implementation affects us, and as we move on, we'll continue to engage with AARTO. So we would not necessarily want to be seen, and this should be very clear. We are not saying AARTO should not be implemented. We are saying it promotes road safety, which is what we support, which is what we are committed to. Where we have got challenges, where AARTO impedes on our business, we will engage with them to find an amicable solution.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you very much for talking to us here on the program. And this is talking to us on behalf of SANTACO. This is Thabisho Molelekwa, the spokesperson for SANTACO. Now, if all goes according to plan, this bill should come into effect before the end of this year, or before the end of the 2017-2018 financial year. What do you think about it? Are you welcoming it, this new AARTO bill? And what comes with it, I think, is that demerit system. Now, we'd all been, I suppose, privy to the information about the demerit system. You and I start off on 0, and every time we commit an offence on the road, we get a mark against us. And once you have 12 demerits, then your license is taken away for 3 months. Is this going to improve? Do you think this is the way forward? That's our question of the morning. See you after this.